really difficult to trust God sometimes, and I think that this is the reason why the word trust and themes of trust appear so frequently throughout the scriptures, because if it were easy to trust God, there wouldn't be any reason to emphasize trusting in Him, putting your trust in Him. The word trust appears in the Bible 190 times, and the phrase trust in the Lord appears 190 times. When life begins to weigh you down, and when you begin to look at your life and look at the things that you've been through and you don't see any indication of things changing, when things just look so hopeless, it can be extremely difficult to put your hope and to put your trust in an invisible being, to put your hope and trust in this being that He's actually going to do it, that He's actually working this out for your good. And connected with that is waiting on God. That word wait appears in the Bible 145 times. Why? Because it can get difficult to wait on God. It can be really, really hard and really, really frustrating when so much time has passed by, when you've been praying and fasting for the same thing, when you've been obedient, when you've been doing your part, and it feels like God isn't doing His. It can get extremely difficult to continue waiting on God. And I think too, and not only does the Bible just tell us to trust in God, to just tell us to wait on God, but the Bible also encourages us by telling us what will happen when we do these things. As you can see in Psalms 37:5, it says, "Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in Him, and He shall bring it to pass." There's the promise. There's not just an instruction, but there's a promise if you do the instruction. In Proverbs 3:5-6, it says, "Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge God, and He will direct your path." There is the promise. In Psalms 37:34, it says, "Wait on the Lord and keep His way. And what will He do? He will exalt you to inherit the land. And when the wicked are cut off, you're going to see it." In Psalms 27:14, it says, "Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and He shall strengthen thine heart." Wait, I say, on the Lord. In Isaiah 40:31, it tells us that they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount upon wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. There are commandments to wait and to trust on God, but then there is the encouragement, the promise of what will happen when you do this. So guys, let's be people who, despite the fact that it's hard, let's be people who trust in God anyway. Despite the fact that so much time has passed by, let's be people who wait on God anyway. Despite the fact that there is so much pain and so much hurt, let's be people who are obedient unto Him anyway. Let's be people who pour out our hearts before God. Tell God that it's hard right now, that you're finding it difficult to wait on Him. Tell Him that your trust in Him is wavering. Be honest with God. Why? Because that's a form of showing that you trust Him. When you pour out your heart before Him, when you are completely vulnerable with God, that is an indication that you trust Him. Why? Because you don't tell, any man on the street your deepest, darkest secrets. You don't tell everybody everything because you don't trust everybody. But let's show God that we trust Him by pouring out our hearts before Him. The Bible even says in Psalm 62:8, "Trust in Him at all times, ye people." Pour out your heart before Him. And I believe that that verse begins with trust in God, because you're not going to pour out your heart before God if you don't trust Him. So tell God it's hard right now. Be honest with Him about how you feel in your waiting. Every thought that's traversing your mind, everything that is pulsating through your heart and in your spirit, tell God, trusting that He won't punish you or abuse you with that information. And finally, guys, despite the heartache, despite the pain, despite the misunderstanding, despite the confusion, despite everything that you may be going through, let's be people who trust God anyway.